Ma se torniamo sempre a alla cosa a cui ho adombrato Vignardi, cioè quel mio vivere in maniera molto interiore le cose, cioè evidentemente il mio sguardo verso le cose del mondo, verso gli oggetti, è uno sguardo non naturale, non laico, vedo sempre le cose come un po' miracolose.
Welcome, listeners. What you heard in that clip is the voice of Pier Paolo Pasolini. And fuck, I had no idea what he's saying. I don't speak Italian. I had no idea. Do you know what he was saying?
I think he said ciao at some point.
Oh, man. Oh, anyway, this is a good indication of what this miniseries might be like.
Nobody knows much about Pasolini.
Pasolini. But yeah, Pasolini, not really an influential figure in Italy.
He's kind of an enigma.
Yeah.
Actually, they called him Baba Yaga.
Yes, yeah. Just, out of all the things in John Wick 4 that I keep thinking about, the one Scott Adkins in the fat suit playing the German killer when he says, "He's a Baba Yaga." It's very like Star Wars alien, like Watto, or like is that Baba Yaga?
Yeah. It's a
great actor.
It's a fun scene. To be honest, though, I know in that last episode I probably came across as a big last act of that movie stan.
Well, yeah, I mean.
But really, I keep thinking about the Paris sequence. That it's amazing.
Yes,
it's really something good.
It is really something good.
And my friend Emily, who I used to work with, she was like, "How could you do John Wick and not have me on?" And I was like, "You like John Wick?" It turns out she's just a big franchise person in general.
Oh.
So we'll definitely have her on at some point.
Yeah, I mean, why we didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know Emily.
No, you don't.
Maybe she's not even real.
I promise you she is.
Oh, okay.
This isn't some sort of a Joker scenario.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Like Zazie Beetz.
Yes, of course.
She's never there.
That the final masterstroke of that film.
Yeah. You go to Joel's stand-up comedy taping and it's just you. And he thinks he's like sold it out, but it's...
Oh, man. I mean, that actually would be pretty funny. Yeah.
But
it's like Maria Bamford's stand-up set that's just her in her parents' living room and the audience is her parents. It's really funny.
So I asked Emily, I was like, "Did you see John Wick 4?
Mm-hmm.
And if you did, how would you kind of rank them?"
Okay.
And she actually did the 2, 4, 3, 1.
No
so
way.
She is in agreement with.
Well, cool. We got to have her on.
Yeah.
Is she a big Pasolini head?
I asked her, I was like, "What other franchise are you passionate about that you might want to come on?" And she just started listing off a bunch of them. So
yeah, great. Well,
I'm sure she'd be down for Shrek.
Fantastic.
Pasolini.
Yeah, kind of the Shrek of Italian cinema.
Yeah. Well, Bob, he's an ogre.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So we're talking about your friend Emily and love of franchises. We're doing something that isn't a franchise, technically speaking.
Yeah.
It is a thematic trilogy.
That is sold together now.
Yes, that is that has been packaged and sold together by the Criterion Collection. Shout out to Criterion Collection. Send us free gift codes.
Sponsor us.
I actually bought some Criterions in their sale, which I very rarely do because in Canada, all the prices are in U.S. and in Canada there's a shipping charge and it goes through DHL, which adds an additional charge on top, which is like pretty ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
But I did because I was reminded to go through my email and get all the gift codes that they send you for being a Criterion Channel subscriber. So I ended up having $50 of gift codes.
We get those?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
You gotta go and check. Just like Criterion gift
codes
in your email, yeah.
Jeez, what'd you pick up?
Yeah, a couple of things. You also got this, but the Lost Highway 4K.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm excited to see because that old DVD is really bad.
Yeah.
And you kind of don't appreciate it until you go look at it now and you're like, my God, but I had the opportunity to see it in a theater a while back, which was really nice. I love that movie. It's really...
I've seen it a couple of times in theaters.
Yeah.
It's a good theater movie.
Yeah, it is, yeah. This was one of those screenings at the Royal where there was a lot of ironic I can't handle David Lynch laughter.
Right.
At the same time, the movie is very funny, so you can't really blame them. Like when Bill Pullman's like, "That's fucking crazy, man."
That's great. That's the best scene in the movie.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I mean that's
give me back my phone.
Yeah, call me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a great actor and a great man, Robert Blake.
He did nothing wrong.
Recently died, who was vindicated.
Did he die in
not
prison?
Shooting his wife's. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
He did kill his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I actually saw that movie for the first time at one of your favorite cinemas, the Carlton. And the one
my favorite.
Yeah, we spoke about it a few episodes ago. It smells like piss.
It's the piss theater. Yeah, it is.
And the people, I guess it was the programmer, probably their only one, but he did a comedy sketch beforehand that just wouldn't end, where they parodied that scene with the phone. And it was just like, get on with it. You know, it was like really Monty Python, like, get on with it.
That's brutal.
It was really bad.
Yeah, it's a lot of the film programming and stuff in the city is great, and I like when there's a little talk or intro before the film sometimes. But there have been definitely times where it goes on too long, and the person is too, they're
a rock star, like this is their moment to shine.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
Yeah.
At the same time, I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah, it was really good from a cringe factor, but then it was a late screening and wound up making it go till like 1 a.m. or something. And
yeah, that's one of the funny things of the review is like sometimes they'll start the film on time, and other times it's like we gotta sell popcorn.
Yeah.
Or some whatever. So like for a 90-minute movie, it's usually over 2 hours.
2 hour affair.
Yeah, but we love it. We love it.
Well, this is nice. This is kind of like us back in our element. Just the two friends.
The two
trademark.
friends. Yeah, that's our trademark, by the way.
Talking about art films. Talking about Italian art films.
It is funny. We are both back in our element, just the two of us, but also somewhat out of our element.
Yes.
Not talking about a franchise that you can buy in a triple DVD pack at the Walmart
Shoppers
$5 bin. Yeah. But these films I believe are on the Criterion Channel.
Yeah,
at the moment. We should double check that.
Actually,
maybe not.
No, I don't think they are.
No, they're not.
I think
they have some other Pasolini films as well.
Yeah,
that you can check out.
They're queuing up a bunch of the ones that are going to be in their Pasolini 101.
Yes, so we had actually planned for this before they announced that.
Yeah,
and now we're riding the wave.
Dude, relevancy.
Yeah, well, the John Wick episodes were popular. People have seen those movies.
These will be popular.
Now we're throwing it all away.
Listen, these are fun movies. They're bawdy.
Yeah.
They're ribald.
I think the listeners right now should start keeping a track of how many times we say bawdy and ribald or ribald or ribald, if you will.
Yeah. However you want it.
And we're also going to try to limit the Italian accents, but I mean, I'm talking to myself mostly. But
you get 5 minutes per episode.
Yeah, 5 minutes per episode, spread out. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
or you could just do it in one big chunk, like
5 minute. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Pasolini. I write you a nice poem.
Let's talk about our relationship to the films of Pasolini. Like when I was getting into cinema when I was younger, like I said, in Saskatoon, there weren't necessarily, like streaming services didn't exist. There's no Criterion Channel. So if you wanted to watch, get a decent copy. Oh, also like torrenting wasn't really quite as not every movie was available to torrent online.
100%. It's usually the big ones.
Yeah. So you'd go to the library, or you'd get a Criterion for Christmas or something, because they're expensive and they're hard to find too. And so that as much as the Criterion Collection now, I think very much mainstreams a lot of film culture in a kind of a not necessarily great way, but whatever. I'm happy people watch stuff, and
they're easier to get.
They're easier to get, and their programming is good. But yeah, the first time I ever heard of Pasolini was I think it was maybe a Criterion copy of Mama Roma, or one of the other ones they had that was like in the library. And I remembered the name because earlier I had been on the classic, now defunct IMDb message boards. And a lot of IMDb message board conversation would be like, what's the most fucked up movie ever made?
Yeah.
What's like the most shocking, transgressive, disgusting movie ever made? And there were, you know, Irreversible and like fucking, I don't know.
Ken Park.
Ken Park. Yeah, I actually finally watched Ken Park.
Yeah, it's not very good.
No, it's it's good. It's the Larry Clark likes to film naked teenagers kind of vibe, you know.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Larry Clark and Harmony Korine. So,
I love Harmony Korine,
yeah.
but not the Larry Clark scripts necessarily, you know.
Right.
There's some because he wrote Kids and he wrote Ken Park, I think.
Yeah, I think that's his only collaboration with him.
Speaking of Harmony, I watched Julian Donkey Boy recently.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Mesmerizing.
I need to rewatch it.
Really, really upsetting movie.
Werner Herzog acting.
He's so good at it. Like we could still give him the best supporting actor for Julian Donkey Boy. I know it's been a while, but
I need to dive into those because I was really into Kids in high school, and that's kind of when I went through those like earlier Harmony Korine movies, and I haven't seen like a lot of them since. I've seen Gummo since because Gummo's like the big one. Gummo's great, yeah.
I love Gummo. But anyway, so I remembered like, a Pasolini, like, you know, and you're trying to do this like, I know who Ingmar Bergman is, and I know who Akira Kurosawa is, and all the other canonical like big directors,
Smith.
Whatever. Kevin Smith, yeah, of course.
McG,
yeah. I have seen all of McGee's filmography. That's, you know, this is the type of pretentious pseudo-intellectual film guy. You're kind of at the beginning phases when you're molding your taste, and you don't really know what it is you like, or you don't really know even how to talk about movies, or maybe I don't know if I still know, but you know, you go through and watch some of these canonical things, and then you're like, yeah, okay, well, I've seen that now, so like now I know who Bergman is because I watched Seven Seal, and with Pasolini, the allure of Salò was huge because every one of those threads and any other types of, like, you know, or even just talking with people who are also into films when you're younger. And it's like, oh, Salò. Like, it's like so fucking crazy, bro. It's disgusting and whatever. And I remember in university, it was someone we were in the film program with. I don't remember his name, though. But we worked together on a couple projects. And I remember going over to his place. And he had the Salò Criterion DVD, the original one.
Disturbing cover.
Yes, a very disturbing cover. The original one, which at the time, maybe not at that time, but there were several periods where that was, because it was out of print, that was the most expensive and valuable DVD like in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was like the only way to watch it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it was, I guess its notoriety was like so great that people were desperate to like find a copy, and I have. That's the only time I've seen a physical copy of that DVD in real life. It's never at a store. It's gone, and they've since re-released it and remastered and so on. Right?
We both have copies of.
We do both have copies, yeah. And I did eventually end up watching it. And I enjoyed it, and perhaps we'll be talking about that later on.
Yes. It's funny because Salò was my introduction to Pasolini, too.
I think that's the case for most people.
Because it had that, like, cash. And, I was in high school, and I found its Wikipedia page, and I read it, and was, like, shook to my core, right? And then when I realized what that cover was... It's a scene from the third act of the film, subtitled "The Circle of Blood." You can imagine what goes on there.
Yeah.
And when I literally had nightmares about this movie that I hadn't seen.
Yes.
Until I finally watched it, like within the last couple of years. I bought
recently,
Yeah. And I guess I'd watched like a highlight reel, if you can call it that, of like craziest moments or something.
Okay.
So I kind of knew what to expect, and I kind of toughened as a film watcher. So I finally watched it, and I do actually, really appreciate that movie on a lot of levels. But I think it's really interesting that, it was my touch point for Pasolini, but I feel like a lot of people just find it, like you said, fucked up, scary movies or whatever, movies to disturb, like disturbing hounds.
Yeah, yeah.
And I could picture like a lot of people who want to see a fucked up, scary movie watching it and being like, what the fuck is this? Like,
well,
this is...
Sure. Like, and that's exactly it, is that legacy notoriety lives on today. And even just like last week or a couple weeks ago, there was a giant online Twitter discourse about it. Because I don't know, some guy, this is always how it starts. It's just some guy, like not somebody important or somebody who is like a film writer or like, somebody who opens themselves up to criticism as part of their work or their lifestyle or whatever it is. Just some guy who was like, actually kind of what you said, like, I read the Wikipedia page for Salò, and I think that anybody who watches that movie should be like put on a list, or like, or anybody who watches that movie is like a bad person or whatever. And for one reason or another, it just kind of snowballed and blew up, and then it's like 1,000 people dunking on this guy, being like, and I think in particular in the case of Salò and in Pasolini's life, like, Salò was a very controversial movie.
Yeah.
And he was killed shortly after it was made. He was assassinated, and we're going to get into that on the Salò episode, I think. But
no, we're not going to do a Salò episode.
Oh, wink, wink, wink. Yeah, only the Trilogy of Life.
Yeah.
But so its reputation precedes it, as they say. But is that reputation accurate? And we will be getting into that.
Yeah, we'll get into all that good stuff, because I've had debates, with my partner, because she's a therapist, and she's a very socially minded person, and she used to work as a social worker, so I know for a fact that she couldn't really handle something like that, because she's dealt with a lot of trauma in the real world. And she was kind of questioning me, like, why do you like this? Like, why do you watch this? And on paper, when you describe it, but I guess she's like watched a few more movies with me where it's like very like Michael Haneke, they're not like, they're thesis movies, they're not like, a gorehound couldn't really watch it and have a good time, because it's
well, yeah, that's a funny thing about these people's assumptions about Salò, and the reason I'm going to bring this up at the beginning is that then translates to Pasolini, because I think for a lot of people, like, it's the only Pasolini film I've seen, which I'm kind of ashamed of, but we're working through it. We're rectifying it. You're rectifying it in particular with these films. And that's stupid.
No, it's good.
But it's true. But yeah, like the way that people talk about Salò, and then by extension Pasolini, as if who don't know what they're talking about, but have this unearned confidence about how they, just from reading the Wikipedia page or seeing a clip, like, it's so funny that people I think it's like some pointless gore exercise,
torture porn,
or whatever, and not actually like a satire about fascist Italy,
and just a very academic like film.
Yeah. It's so actually another one of those great like Salò tweets is like Ice-T tweets a lot, right? And when Ice-T tweeted at one point, like, I'm gonna watch Salò, like, I heard this shit is fucked up, and like I'll review it tomorrow or whatever. And then he never talked about it again. It's like he watched it with his wife or something. It was like, can't wait. I've heard this movie is crazy.
That's so good.
Yeah, never comes up.
And it's funny because, Pasolini made this like super notorious landmark film, and then you might go to his filmography thinking you'll find a lot of like that kind of stuff. Maybe it would have been if he wasn't brutally murdered and he could have finished his trilogy of death. But really, you go back and you see his catalog, and it's like some Christian movies, some like Italian neorealism movies, the Trilogy of Life, which are Bawdy and Ribald.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of an outlier in his filmography, and it's kind of a shame that it overshadows some of his other stuff.
Yeah, I not being particularly familiar with his filmography,
but now that we're dipping our toes into it,
I do think for sure it is a shame that it's the only thing that people who aren't in the know, as we weren't until today. That's this kind of whatever stench that follows him. Like it's this like sick, twisted, like child porn movie or something.
While it was the first of his movies that I knew about and was on my radar, I think the first one I actually watched was Teorema.
Oh,
because I was afraid to watch
so
that.
That's the other one you've seen.
Yeah. And now
I've been meaning to see. So I'm going to watch that for next week.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
Well, now we've seen a couple more.
Yeah.
To give ourselves context.
Just briefly about Pasolini. He wasn't just a filmmaker. I mean, first and foremost, I think probably a lot of people, maybe specifically in Italy, would know him more for his writing,
literary stuff.
Yeah, his poetry, plays, novels, and also a very prominent public intellectual that would have been kind of like a key sort of influential political and artistic figure in Italy in the 60s and 70s. So
he was very communist.
Yeah, he's a Marxist.
Very openly gay.
Yes.
One of his first collections of poetry is called The Ashes of Gramsci. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But he was the founder of the Italian Communist Party.
Yeah, Gramscian Marxist, yeah. Which I say with confidence, as long as we don't ask any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Well, he was a Gramscian Marxist. Yeah. I know that. Of course.
I have a master's in Gramscian Marxistry.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of any of Pasolini's poems on you? Maybe each episode will read a Pasolini poem.
Oh, that'd be great. I don't have any examples.
Oh, I got you covered.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, let's hear it.
I used to not stand you, but now I stand you. The thinking man's Reynolds Ryan. I'm no longer lying. To myself or to others, I consider you a brother. How could I not? I want to have sex with Adam Scott.
That's interesting. Adam Scott, the actor.
The
from modern day actor.
That you like. Are you talking RHCP?
I love Adam Scott. But how was he so
prophetic?
Exactly.
He references Ryan Reynolds. I also think this is a lot of people mistake the term Stan as coming from the Eminem song. Like,
does it
Dear
not?
Slim, why ain't you called?
It's a terrible song. It's a terrible song.
Well, the Dido chorus is just awesome because it's just the Dido chorus from that other song. But Pasolini, all stems from him.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I did not know that he wrote an Adam Scott Stan piece.
An ode to Adam Scott.
Yeah, that's. When was Adam Scott born?
You'd be surprised.
Pasolini died in 1975. Anyway, well, I guess this is the life of an artist and a true poet, right? Mm-hmm. That a poet, doesn't just write what they know. That they can tap into this reservoir of great meaning and understanding that surrounds us. And I suppose when he was dipping into, his own mind, he came up with Adam Scott, this actor that will be successful on Party Down and in Step Brothers, of course,
Parks and Rec,
and have a
Severance.
Number of podcasts with Scott Aukerman that I really enjoy.
Yeah,
as we've talked about.
Something like David Lynch talks about the collective conscious and
catching the big fish.
Exactly. Yeah.
I read that piece of shit. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's good. It's good.
So as a bit of context to dip our beaks, I watched Accattone, Pasolini's first feature film, 1961, so 10 years before Il Decameron.
Yes, which we watched today, and is the main focus. Eventually, we'll get to that. But we wanted to. So it was one of the things with Pasolini is because we were both interested in his work, and we wanted to watch some of the other movies. So we'll probably have at least one or two to talk about as we talk about these other ones, because we can't just talk about how all the dicks and the boobies for an hour.
Don't worry, we'll get to the Italian dicks and. There's some pretty outlandish stuff in the Decameron.
Yes. So much so that we'll get to that. Go talk about Accattone.
Accattone, it stars Franco Citti, not sure how to pronounce it, but he's a Pasolini regular. He's in all of the Trilogy of Life. He plays Accattone. His real name's Vittorio, but he's a pimp. It's kind of like a 1960s Italian neorealism hustle and flow. but he never like, you know, drops an album. He just one of his women are put out of commission. She's arrested for perjury, and then he tries to seduce someone else and kind of manipulate her into becoming a prostitute. But it's just about the people kind of on the outskirts of Rome around this time, like not long after World War II, which is always kind of a trip, because like when you think about the 60s and you think about like, you know, 60s pop music and rock and roll, like the Beatles and stuff, like that happened like the World War II happened less than 20 years prior to that.
Yeah.
So it's like there must have been so much, especially in Europe, like just so much pent up, I don't know, like they just wanted to kind of cut loose or...
Well, that's something that Pasolini, I think, talks about a bit when he's describing some of his work that he was interested in, is that post-war Italian society, there was, well, obviously there's a lot going on in the birth of neorealism, like actually shooting these films like in the streets, in the
location,
rubble,
non-actors,
like Rossellini's Or Trilogy, another thematic trilogy we could do. Oh, baby, and Vittorio De Sica films and Bicycle Thieves and so on. But he was talking about the sort of overwhelming sentimentality of the post-war years and the kind of turn to consumerism and other types of bourgeois indulgences.
Yeah.
That obviously he was as a Marxist,
communist, and gutter punk.
And gutter, the original. Yeah.
Well, Accattone taking place in the outskirts of Rome, and I forget what the Italian word is, but it translates like roughly to slums.
Right.
You know, it is kind of like where he lived as like a poor poet and stuff like that. It's where he paid a lot of men for sex of various ages.
Yes, let's get this out of the way right now. Pasolini, is an interesting man from a different time. He had a lot of lovers and affairs and this and that, and perhaps some of them may have been young men that today's moral lens would perhaps, but whatever. The art is worth it.
Yeah.
And that's our message at the franchisees: is it's okay to be whatever you are, even if it's a sex pest, as long as the art is good.
Yeah, well, everyone was a sex pest back then, especially in Italy.
That's my assumption, especially after seeing the Decameron.
It's a horny movie.
Yeah, the whole country was founded on
sex pestery.
Yeah.
But Accattone, it was like a cool movie. It wasn't like my favorite, but I really appreciated it. Like we were talking about, it wasn't so much a movie that really affected me, but it's a movie I had a lot of like appreciation for. It's, people might be put off black and white 60s Italian movie. It's actually really engaging, and it's a look at these people, and they speak in like a really particular Roman dialect that like even normal Italians couldn't really understand. Yes,
he does that too, I think, in his writing and poetry. The dialect of where he grew up, actually, and also in the Decameron too is all in that I think
vernacular.
And Neapolitan. I'm not really sure how to. That's the ice cream, but the ice cream dialect.
Yeah. Of chocolate, strawberry, vanilla.
Yeah, of generally like poor Italians in the South who are kind of looked down upon by the wealthier northern Italians. Yeah.
So well, I didn't absolutely like fall head over heels for it. I thought it was very solid. I appreciated that context. You see like a lot of his kind of stylistic traits, which I think if you would have to describe are like a very matter-of-fact, detached kind of camera style, just kind of like showing you things plainly, not a lot of like frills. And you watched a movie to give yourself a bit of context as well.
Yeah, I did. I watched a movie that I've been meaning to see for ages. Like we were talking about a bit, sometimes you'll approach this classic, you've heard about it, you've been meaning to see it for ages, and you're like, okay, let's see, and you can appreciate it, but maybe it doesn't move you personally, or mean much to you personally. And so when I sat down to watch Pasolini's 1964 film, The Gospel According to Matthew, aka The Gospel According to Saint Matthew, which I think was a mistranslation for the English, well, an intentional addition to the English language title, but it blew my mind.
Nice.
Yeah, I was raving about it to my friend last night. It's I think not only the greatest cinematic depiction of Christ, but one of the best movies I've seen in a really long time. One of the best movies ever.
Next to Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, of course. So I think power rankings for Christ films would go number 1, Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. Huge gap, right? Number 2,
a couple stories.
Pasolini's Gospel According to Matthew. Number 3, Last Temptation of Christ. And then a huge gap. And then the 60s, 50s, 60s biblical epics, King of Kings and whatever, that bullshit.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, obviously number 1. Well, actually, that's a really good point of comparison with the Passion of the Christ. The Passion of the Christ, I haven't seen that since it came out, right?
Yeah.
There was a huge deal. People who weren't around at that time, it was like, we were talking about like religious parents were forcing their children to watch it.
Yeah.
People took the day off school to go see it.
And it was like this powerful thing, right? And in retrospect, it's like you took your kids to watch like... that's torture porn.
Well, it's so much more literally torture porn than Saw or than Hostel. Hostel is pretty literal. But the entire movie of Passion of the Christ is mostly torture scenes, right?
Well, there's like a good hour where they're speaking Aramaic.
Oh yeah, that's actually all the power to him. That was good. That was a cool choice. Cool. Yeah. So a great point of comparison between these movies. So I have a quote from Pasolini I can read, but just as a comparison, like depicting the life of Christ, and in Mel Gibson's case, it's just the death of Christ, right? And that's fine. Pasolini's case, it's a birth to death film, but Gospel According to Matthew. And perhaps why it is the best, I think, depiction of Christ I've seen on the screen is that Pasolini, first and foremost, is a poet, right? Mm-hmm. And as a poet and a gay atheist Marxist, right?
He has a complicated relationship.
Yeah, and throughout his life, sometimes would describe himself as Catholic, mm-hmm. not like a believer, but as understanding and believing in some of the preachings of Christ. But this movie, I think, and Pasolini himself sees the beauty and the poetry within the scripture and translates that to the visual medium in an absolutely stunning and mesmerizing way. That is so, the entire movie, all the dialogue is right from the book of or the Gospel of Matthew, right? And so much of it is Jesus delivering these sermons. There's a great kind of extended sequence where all it is different close-ups of him throughout, I think meant to be over a period of time of him, railing off the greatest hits of Jesus quotes. Yeah. And for Pasolini, I think as a Marxist, right, this Jesus, it focuses on Jesus as the revolutionary. That a lot of the things that he is preaching to people are very much in line with, communist and. That's so true. Yeah, exactly.
Like relating to the Accattone people, the lower rungs, if you will.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. He's the rabble rouser, right?
Yeah.
And it is so well done. It actually brought me to tears, which is like, and a lot of movies do that. I mean, loser. Yeah. I know. Alex is going to wedgie me later.
I'm gonna give you a swirly nerd.
And that's really not a big feat for me. Movies make me cry all the time. But I was really not expecting to cry at a movie about Jesus because, I'm not a believer, and
we're staunch anti-theists.
Yeah, I'm kind of a Christopher Hitchens, and you're kind of a Richard Dawson,
or a Anton LaVey.
Yeah, well, naturally, yeah. With all of our torture chambers and Satan items, but yeah. So comparing that approach, where it is very, very realistic, it is shot in a very naturalistic kind of black and white style, with occasional dips into handheld shots and cinema verite shots. Like for the most part, the film is in these very stunning close-ups. In the beginning of the film, in particular, the first thing you see is young Mary, this really striking close-up, and it cuts to the reverse shot of Joseph, and he's looking a little confused. And then it cuts to a wider shot of Mary, and you see she is the baby bump, and Joseph is like, and he walks away. It's actually really good. But then of course he encounters the angel of God coming down and saying,
don't
yada yada yada.
Don't sweat it.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all gravy, baby.
Yeah. So just comparing the poetic and kind of captivating way that, and extremely sensitive way that Pasolini portrays Jesus, and then comparing that to the crass, now it's not some case of like Hollywood commercial, whatever. I mean, obviously a little bit, because it was a very successful film, Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
But just thinking that, like, I understand his idea of wanting to impart the suffering onto the audience, the suffering of
the
Christ,
passion play.
which is very important. But to make that the focus of the film, and specifically to not just linger on the violence, but like steep yourself in it, in a really horrendous way, just compared to this, which is so graceful and is not shying away from the crucifixion or from some of the edgier qualities of this Jesus, where he does kind of come off as a bit of a demagogue sometimes, like talking to his followers. And
interesting.
Just thinking about that, we gotta watch.
No, it actually sounds like an amazing 1-2 punch, because like we are kind of like laughing about it, but like, the Mel Gibson movie really does like put you in the fucking role of like a centurion fucking whipping Jesus, getting chunks of flesh on you, or the fucking snarling villager who stabs him or whatever on the cross with the spear. Like that movie, it'd be interesting to watch a movie that's as graceful as the Gospel of St. Matthew back to back with something like as, let's call it, vulgar as Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, crass, vulgar, dog shit. These are all words. So I just want to quote a bit of Pasolini here talking about Gospel according to St. Matthew, and then we'll get into Decameron shortly after. So this is a letter to Lucio S. Caruso of the Catholic Pro Civitate?
Lucio Caruso.
Anyway, there was a point where Pasolini was reading the New Testament, and it inspired an idea for the film. And here's the quote from him. "My idea is this: to follow the gospel according to Matthew point to point, without making a script or adaptation of it, to translate it faithfully into images, following its story without any omissions or additions. The dialogue too should be strictly that of Matthew, without even a single explanatory or connecting sentence, because no image or inserted word could ever attain the poetic heights of the text. To put it very simply and frankly, I don't believe that Christ is the Son of God, because I am not a believer, at least not consciously. But I believe that Christ is divine. I believe that in him humanity is so lofty, strict, and ideal as to exceed the common terms of humanity. For this reason I say poetry, an irrational instrument to express this irrational feeling of mine for Christ." And he goes on to say, I would like it if my film could be shown on Easter Sunday in all the Paris cinemas in Italy and the world. So one other quick thing I want to bring up about this is he had a short film in one of those kind of European director anthology ones, Rogo Paggi or whatever, a weird title, with like Godard and Rossellini and whatever. And oh shoot, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it had an image of Christ in it. I think it's actually filmmakers filming the Passion, and it had an image that I haven't seen the thing, but was very controversial, and he was brought up on, or I don't know what it was, pilloried by the Catholic Church or whatever. So the another part of the genesis of this movie is that the Pope invited Pasolini and others to talk about potential, new ideas for making religious films and so on. And this film was gladly embraced by the Catholic Church and is certainly, I believe, the only Pasolini film on the Vatican's like list of like the canonical religious movies that everyone should see.
It's funny that the Vatican has like a list of like the Vatican's letterboxd.
Top
10.
The Vatican's letterbox list. They put a lot of work into it. And in that sense too, the film was not well received by some Marxists and leftists and intellectuals and contemporaries of Pasolini who felt that he was
selling out in a way.
Yeah, or being overly pious, and I think in particular with showing the actual scenes of some of the miracles, which Pasolini doesn't. It's not like it is in other Jesus films where it's like, and and Lazarus is alive all of a sudden. They're very matter of fact, but he does show that Jesus. It creates miracles, and I think later he kind of maybe regretted that he, maybe could have taken some of those things out or lessened the impact of that. But anyway,
well, it sounds like a cool movie, and it's probably the one that I'll watch in preparation for next week's episode.
I really recommend it. It is beautiful. It has elements of neorealism, but also complete.
It's kind of his own
lyrical
style.
It really is, yeah.
It's like a cross between neorealism and, if I can get really pretentious-y, and like Buñuel's like later
it's
works.
Not pretentious. That's a great comparison. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Buñuel too found himself in this situation where, his earlier shorts were very sacrilegious, Lodge Door and even in Jeanette Lou and stuff like that. And then he made Nazarene in like the late 50s, early 60s. I haven't seen, but apparently was similarly like embraced by the church and by religious people. And then you lose a bit of your cred.
Well, Pasolini got that cred back at the end with Sallow, a film that literally
even with Teorema, which is it's only 4 years after, I think.
Very true.
Yeah, which I definitely will be watching for the next episode. So excited.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I'm actually curious to hear what you... I look forward to talking to that one about you.
Pretty sure I'm going to like it.
I think it's like tagline when it came out was something like, there are only like 350 words in Teorema, but it says everything.
Yes, yeah, I love that tagline. That's so funny. Yeah.
It's about sexy Terrence Stamp.
John Wick only says 360 words in John Wick 4.
Yeah, no, he speaks
everything.
very little, but he blows a lot of people away with those dragon breath fucking incendiary
whatever
bullets, I guess.
Total video
rounds.
game shit, yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
that's a little bit of well, and I guess just to say a bit more about Pasolini, like I think part of what might have shaped his politics was, I think his mother was a teacher and his father was in the Italian army. And then, being born at the time he was involved in fascism and under Mussolini, and I think was maybe more than just sympathetic to those ideas. Was actually a fascist himself, and I can imagine that might have had an impact.
But today's film is finally getting to it, 45 minutes in.
Awesome.
Il Decameron.
That's really funny. So maybe, and that's okay. I think.
No, we were trying to keep it short for Ben's own sake because Ben's currently dying.
Yeah, I'm suffering the insomnia. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little low energy.
But that's just what great film does to us. It just gets us fucking going.
Yeah, well, I know it is kind of funny that I watched this movie yesterday, the gospel movie, and it was like I was like, this is the best movie I've seen in like a year, and then I'm like, well, I mean, I'm just going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And we come on and Decameron, which I did enjoy.
Yes,
but
we both enjoyed it.
It's a totally different type of experience,
It's based on the 14th century allegory. It's a collection of stories originally by Giovanni Boccaccio. Which I believe is Italian for bukkake.
Bukkake, yeah.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, seriously. And this is the first film in his Trilogy of Life. He went on to adapt The Canterbury Tales by Chaucer.
Yes, which I've read in its entirety in Old
University,
English, Middle English, of course.
And Arabian Nights by...
Which I've read in its entirety in the original Arabic, yes.
Scheherazade.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. No, I think Scheherazade is a character, right?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. This is not the only filmic adaptation of the Decameron. You might remember from a few years ago, The Little Hours.
Yeah, which
starring Aubrey
one or
Plaza.
two of them, right?
Yeah, one of them that's actually in this movie,
yes.
but it only makes up a small chunk.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie, it's kind of like an anthology movie. It's these little like tales that take place in, I guess, 14th century Italy, which by all accounts seems like a terrible time to have been alive, but also kind of a fun time to have been alive.
Yeah, and I didn't do as much research as I would have liked for this episode, but we're gonna, by the time we get to episode 3 or
we're gonna be
sneaky episode 4, we're gonna be the Pasolini experts. Yeah, and I think one of the things Pasolini was trying to do with these movies was to show life in Italy specifically, but just in general. Before a lot of the structures and systems that kind of rule how modern life is now,
especially now.
Yeah, and maybe if you had gum disease and all your teeth fell out, as a lot of people may have in this movie, or you got the plague or whatever, it was all worth it for getting some sweet dick. Yeah.
Or sweet nun pussy.
Yeah. That's the Little Hours one. Yeah.
Yes.
Which, is not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie either, yeah.
But it doesn't hold a candle to this, because you don't see an erect penis.
You don't see Dave Franco's erect penis pointing straight at the camera.
Yeah, you don't see kind of a Gaspar Noé love angle where it looks right at you. Yeah. That's the first penis of many, I think, we'll see in this trilogy.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. And it was hard, too.
Yeah. Kudos to that person.
Yeah.
That's another thing I love about Pasolini movies that you could kind of see from the beginning with Accattone is he's got a really great eye, similar to like Lynch, for casting people, Yes. He finds like either these incredibly handsome Italian men, beautiful women, or just like the most kind of like haggard. Literally, there's a guy with just like one tooth in his gum.
Yes. No, you're totally right. And same in Gospel According to Matthew, a lot of non-actors. The guy who plays Jesus is like a chess genius.
Unibrowed.
Like student, yeah. And I remember I read one review that was kind of like, I don't know if this is necessarily true, but he was like, Pasolini imagines Jesus' life if he were a 19-year-old twink. Because the guy is quite young in the film. Right?
Yeah. Was that a Letterboxd review?
That's
a good one.
Yeah,
one of
I don't remember. I'll look it up.
One of the top ones on Sallow, not to keep going back to it, but is like, what level of film major do you have to be to consider this a good movie? It's like
dumbass.
The basic one.
Dumb.
It's kind of clever though.
I don't know. That makes me sick.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I think with like, I guess you could kind of call this an anthology movie. It's all by one director, but it's these different stories. I found it like a bit uneven. Like I found some stories more satisfying than others.
Yes.
And you got to be prepared to kind of go in and see this, Italian new neorealist. I don't even know what to call it.
Well,
Pasolini style.
Yeah, I don't even know if these would necessarily qualify. I mean, there are non-professional actors, but it really is in a different mode entirely.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess if you're like used to like Fellini movies and stuff like that, you won't be completely out of your element.
No, which I actually didn't know this before just the other day looking it up, but Pasolini started out working on with Fellini. He, I think, both maybe as an actor, but also writing. He did a lot of dialogue for La Dolce Vita.
Yeah,
apparently,
I remember that. Yeah,
and
I think Bernardo Bertolucci was the first AD or just AD on assistant director on Accattone.
Oh, cool! I didn't
think
know that.
so.
No, that would make sense.
They worked together in some respect.
Toronto plug. Monday, as in the day you will probably be listening to this, the April 3rd, the Paradise Theater is showing Bertolucci's The Conformist.
You love that movie.
It's one of my favorite movies.
What time is it at?
8 o'clock. Can't make it.
I do French till 8:30.
Oh well.
I remember one Christmas, I wasn't like celebrating. My family's home was already broken and I didn't really have much to do, so I was like, what's playing at the Tiff Bell Lightbox? They were showing Salò on Christmas Day.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
that's good for them.
Yeah.
You didn't go?
No, I would have been curious to see what the crowd
would
have been like to see Salò in theaters on
that's
Christmas.
Funny. Yeah. Jeez.
Anyway, but overall, I did actually really appreciate the effect of this movie. I think it is like a series of, I think it accomplishes what it sets out to do, which is, tell these bawdy, ribald tales with, and kind of like celebrate the joie de vivre, like the experience of being alive. And sometimes things work out for you. Sometimes they don't. But like, isn't there just like kind of an innocent beauty to it all? Yeah,
and the indulging in earthly pleasures.
Yeah.
You
only live once.
Yeah, totally. So a couple actors in this. You mentioned that
Franco Citti
from Accattone is in it, and also Ninetto Divoli,
another Pasolinian man / boy.
Yeah, who Pasolini, a 40-year-old Pasolini, met when he was a young man, let's just say, and became his kind of the love of his life, his muse and a collaborator, and acting in his films, and and a lover and everything. And so it's he is right off the bat. I think that's one of my favorites too. Is the beginning,
the whole sequence with that character, and Andreucci or something. Yeah,
he gets swindled twice. Yeah, but then he gets that ruby ring, baby.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
He shows up in this town to buy a horse, and this beautiful woman. She's honestly stunning, gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she's ever acted anything before, but she could have.
Yeah. Okay. Easy.
Awooga.
Easy.
But she's like, I'm your long lost sister. You're like half sister or something. Your dad was traveling, and they feed him a lot, and then he goes to bed. And you saw this like servant boy kind of cutting a wooden step earlier. In the middle of the night, the guy, or I guess before he goes to bed, he's like, "Where's the crapper?" And the boy's like, "Through here." And he steps on the step that's been sawed, so he falls into a giant pool of shit.
Yes.
Turns out Pasolini, Pier Paolo, more like poo.
Poo, yeah.
Poo Pasolini.
Paso pee.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, that is the bawdy and ribald nature of these films.
And it's how it starts out, right? It kind of lets you know,
that.
Like, you're in for a world of trickery and shit.
Yeah, and one of the funny things, and kind of depressing things about this movie's success, it was, I think, the third biggest movie in Italy that year.
Crazy.
And it was number one, The Godfather, because it released a year after, I think, but
right.
It would have made it to Italy.
Which Franco Citti had a small role in during the Sicily sequence.
There you go.
We're good at our jobs.
We got it. Yeah, it's all connected. But yeah, I'm just going to quote a bit here from, just a little bit from an essay in the Criterion booklet that comes with the film. The success of Pier Paolo, the success of Pier Paolo Pasolini. That's why that's all I can think about now. The success of the Decameron, with its lighthearted yet explicit sexuality, led to an unforeseen development in Italian cinema, a subgenre of softcore pornographic films that have been unofficially called decamerotic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it is a 1971 movie that at that time helped loosen strictures in national film industry that previously forbade graphic displays of sex and nudity. And so it opened up the floodgates for all of these comic, like low budget, and as they say here, culturally dubious films made by third-tier production companies and designed primarily for titillation. So this is a sexy movie, but it's not necessarily an erotic movie.
Yeah, good distinction.
Right? It is not designed specifically for titillation like these kind of ripoffs were. Mm-hmm. And just one other thing that they say here is that between 71 and 73, there were at least 20 films of this subgenre that would have come out. And there was even a adaptation of 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights, in anticipation for Pasolini's movie. They were ripping things out that hadn't even come out yet.
So in a way, it kind of is like a franchise in the sense that there's like a lot of rip-offs and, there's this original core commercial trilogy.
Maybe we can find the Black Decameron, Decameron 4, that's Decameroticus.
And they remade it with the Little Hours.
Yeah. Nights of Pleasure, The Lusty Wives of Canterbury. These sound good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Only like in the 70s would, this have inspired copycats and like a film trend.
I don't know. I guess it really is culturally specific to that time and place where it's like he was a very popular and respected intellectual and filmmaker. He makes these movies. And then, of course, there's some producer chomping a big Italian cigar, being like, Mamma mia, have I got an idea? What if we took out all the stuff without the sex and just put more sex in? Yeah. But I think, and we're going to get into that a little later on the other episodes, but that wave of imitations that I think Pasolini was quite upset by because they took the poetry and the art out of his films,
commodified
it, and exactly right, and made these cheap imitations, and he essentially disowned these movies by the time shortly before he died. And Salo is perhaps
totally a response to that.
Yeah. But we'll see when we get there.
If we do. What were some of your favorite tales within this film? I liked those first two with that guy. After he falls in the shit, he encounters these two robbers, and they were like, "Let's go steal from a church." And he goes in this like big stone thing. You find out it's like a tomb where I guess a recent priest was buried. Yeah. And they want him to pull off all the gold and stuff. He finds like a beautiful ring that he keeps for himself. So the thieves lock him in. And then another group of thieves show up and they're like, don't be afraid. Like dead men can't bite. So he goes in, they open the thing. He goes into the tomb. The guy bites him to scare him away. And then he gets to run off with his valuable priceless ruby ring while he's simultaneously like covered in shit. It's a very interesting image.
It is very funny. Yeah. And the costume and production on this movie is beautiful. Like when you first see him and he's being watched in the crowd by that beautiful woman who swindles him out of his money, he's wearing a very flashy, expensive looking coat or jacket.
And he's playing with coins. Like
he's totally asking for yeah. Not to victim blame, but he's strutting his stuff. He's got this macho Italian swagger, and he's got this. Yeah, he's fiddling around with the coins like there's balls, and he's literally asking for it. And people are watching him, and so it's very Ninetto Divoli's very funny in that performance.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
I also like the one that ended up being rebooted for the Little Hours.
Yes.
Where it's like a man who hears of this convent of nuns and he goes expecting to get like good work and to be
to
treated
be a
nicely.
gardener or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And he pretends to be deaf and mute.
Yeah.
And then the nuns, two of them at first are like, ooh, we can finally like, learn of the carnal pleasures. This guy's not going to tell anyone. He's deaf, mute, and a simpleton.
Right.
He's incredibly handsome simpleton, by the way.
Yes. Hunky, twink maybe isn't the right word. It's a funny word really, that I love to hear. But
so feel free to use it.
Yeah. There's a lot of Italian hunks in this film, and that guy might take the cake. I liked the other guy who the brothers end up killing.
Oh yeah,
right.
The little servant boy.
Yeah. He's not like a little.
No,
kid.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean.
I know. I'm just saying.
I didn't mean to make you out to be some sort of pederast.
Some sort of Pasolini. Yeah.
Pederast, poo-poo, Pasolini.
That's terrible. He's rolling in his grave.
He was probably rolling in his grave. Oh, you mentioned a movie earlier that was like a real bastardization. Probably Passion of the Christ when that came out.
Yeah,
he was probably rolling in his grave.
Oh God, what? It just such a funny. I don't want to harp on that comparison too much, but it's just like two completely oppositional points of view about how to depict the divine prophet, JC.
It's top of mind for you because of Easter and
yes,
because you watched the movie.
Yeah, I watched that movie and I was like, should I be Catholic? Like, am I going to find God because of this movie? And I'm joking, but also, I mean, not really. do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a religious person, and I don't plan on being one unless it's for a clout. Ironically, like I was saying before, but it's genuinely, I was so moved by this film that I thought, like, Gospel According to Matthew feels divine in its representation of Christ and its poetry, and like, I don't think you can say that about a lot of movies necessarily.
Yeah,
certainly not so of the filmography of Melbert Gibson.
I mean, Hacksaw Ridge got pretty close to transcending.
Now, that's a hilarious film. Have you ever seen it?
I actually haven't.
Oh my God. Yeah. Speaking of hunks that I'm in the bag for, love Andrew Garfield. I have watched such shit for just to see Andrew Garfield, right? And he is great in that. That and Silence came out the same year, where he is the lead role in a movie where he's doing a goofy accent, and then he goes to Japan and has a bad time. That's what those two, that double feature is about.
Do you get to see his erect penis at any point?
No, you don't. But he has a funny. He's like I talk like this, and I'm like a good boy,
I'm
a
a
farm boy.
pacifist.
I can't pick up no gun and kill no Japanese person. They don't do nothing to me, you know. God, and so then it's like, wow, like, okay, this is really a beautiful. Is that sort of ethos going to be how the film is? Is that going to infect the rest of the film or whatever? No, because he's like, I don't believe in war and killing. And then you cut to
incredibly violent,
extremely violent scene of Vince Vaughn being like, people exploding and their guts hanging out, and
so
classic like Braveheart sort of stuff. It is such, again, it's like this idea of this connection between divinity and violence, which is so I don't know, unappealing to me personally, just coming from that crazy man.
That's
Dragged Across Concrete, number 1 on Netflix or whatever. It's so check that out. You want to see a fucked up movie with Mel Gibson in it? Check that one out.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the other Decameron stories I really enjoyed was this classic tale we've all been in before, where you try to trick a lady into believing you can turn her into a horse, and then unturn her out of the horse whenever you want to have sex.
Yeah.
To keep your mistress on the side.
To
get more work done.
Remember like the shows like Keys to the VIP and like the whole pickup artist culture. Imagine if they were like, well, because a lot of it was like do magic, like do close up magic. Imagine being like, I can turn you into a horse.
Yeah. And listen,
you'll earn more money.
There's no catch. You can turn right back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whenever we want to fuck.
But the one we were talking about earlier with the nuns, he goes to work for the nuns and they all start fucking him.
Yeah.
That one had some like good moments too, because he ends up speaking at the end and blowing his ruse because he's like, you're fucking me too much.
Yeah.
The Mother Superior, they basically have a sex slave, these nuns.
Exactly. And he's like give a man a break. You know? He's
My
not
penis.
a machine. Yeah.
He's so raw. He's so red and raw.
My chorizo. He's fallen off.
He's so sore.
Okay, we're getting to good. This is the Italian quoting time.
Yeah. Another situation I fall in.
I make you a nice movie. Why you not like?
I fuck you non.
Yeah.
Another situation we've all found ourselves in is, you go to work, you find out it's St. Galilio's day or whatever.
Yeah.
So you come home to your wife. She's locked the doors. Is she cheating on you? I don't know. But she is saying that she has a new buyer who's willing to buy your large stone pot for more than your old man friend.
Yeah. You come with a nice buyer for your pot to impress your wife, and she's already got somebody, and he's in the pot right now taking a look at it.
Yeah, he wasn't hiding or anything.
No, not suspicious at all.
So he likes the pot.
He's also another
He's
one
hunky,
of the hunky guys. Yeah.
And he's like, it's so dirty on the inside of this pot. So you, being the good husband that you are, go in to clean the pot only for your wife to have sex with that man outside of the pot.
Yeah.
Cuckold you.
Yeah, totally like a perfect situation. Your husband's in the giant pot scraping all the junk off of it. And you're standing over the pot looking in while you're getting fucked from behind from the hunk.
It was a giant spittoon. And it was just like caked on chewing tobacco spit.
But seriously, like, these stories were written so long ago, and yet that is a situation I find myself in at least once a month.
All the time.
Yeah. On all three different roles I've played. Yeah. And, I don't know. It just speaks again to poetry, right?
It is like these stories are so old and they're so horny. And it's like, as far as we advance, the empires we build and the empires that fall, at the end of the day, like humanity, such a big part of it is getting laid.
Yeah, rolling around in the dirt, shitting and pissing and vomiting, and getting fucked and being fucked and coming.
Ejaculating or orgasming or squirting, whatever,
That's kind of what it's all about.
It's kind of what all of it. Like at the end of the day, like we're social animals and we just want to fuck other members of our species. Yeah,
and, again, Pasolini's prophetic vision, setting a movie in the past to talk about the present,
right? Adam Scott,
yeah. And of course nowadays, I'm sure he would be quite upset that people aren't having sex anymore because they're too busy looking at their dang phones.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
He would be shocked with it's Gen Z, or is it millennials even? No, I think it's Gen
everybody.
Z, right?
It's everybody.
Why you not having a sex? Why you don't like the fucking comb?
Yeah, that's exactly what Pasolini sounded like. Yeah. I'm making you a nice sexy movie for you. You make you hard, make you wet. We watch it together and then we fuck.
It sounded good? Okay. I know I pay you for nothing.
Yeah.
He did love male prostitutes.
Yeah. You come into my movie, you don't make money. You get paid in exposure. Again, very prophetic till today. Today, all the people writing a 1,000-page or 1,000-word article for $5 or something. Fucking such a racket.
Dude, for real.
Yeah, so...
gone too soon.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're obviously going to get more into Pasolini in the next couple episodes. We're going to talk more about the man and the films, and maybe actually read some of his poetry. some of his real poetry, Alex.
If you
Roses are red.
if you did like the Adam Scott poem, feel free to follow me at CrunchyBoy16 to see the horrendous caricature of Adam Scott that goes with it.
I think you're correct. It is horrendous, but also accurate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's a horrendous man.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's safe to say we like this movie. We're looking forward.
I did enjoy it. I said I'm very tired. I was struggling a bit to pay attention, but I did enjoy it.
You were up all night doing what, Ben?
Well, no, not last night. I got a great sleep, but
okay.
the night. Well, no, I didn't get a good sleep. This is the problem. I never get a good sleep. But actually, not last night, but the night before, I was up. I stayed up all night. I couldn't sleep, and I thought I might as well play Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Hell yeah.
Go to the evil red hell planet Dathomir.
Dathomir, where Darth Maul's from.
Shit?
Yeah.
It's where Darth Maul's from. And some of the guys, they're whatever species Darth Maul is.
Yeah.
Dathomirians or whatever.
Well, you get the choice to go there pretty early on. And you could go somewhere else. I think I only got to like Kashyyyk. I don't even know how far in the game that is. I think it's not that far.
It's maybe halfway or something.
Okay, yeah. And then I dropped out. But the sequel's coming out soon. So
I know. And in keeping with my delayed thing, I paid $6 to play this, to like own a copy, this digital copy of this game or whatever. And then I'm not going to want to play the sequel right away.
Until it's $6.
Until it's $6.
While we're in Game Corner, and speaking of like catching up to games you never played, and I know you recently played Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
Early on in the pandemic, on my computer, because I never played it before, I bought a copy of Bully. Remember, it was the Rockstar game that was like GTA in a school?
Yes.
Actually, really good game.
Yes, I've
Not
heard.
as mean-spirited as you would think from a game called Bully.
Yeah, it
also,
was very controversial. Pasolini level controversy.
It was. I think it was kind of unfounded in retrospect. And tying it to Larry Clark's film Bully, which I actually quite like. Not written by Harmony Korine.
Bully's the only good movie. I mean, I don't know. I know kids has.
I've got a soft spot
certain merits,
in my heart for it.
I don't really like the movie. Bully, I think does.
Bully's good. Yeah,
achieves what kids is trying to do in a much more interesting, but still very exploitative way.
Yeah,
my God, he's such a perv.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love him.
We all love a perv, and all great directors are perverts. But Larry Clark, something that sets him aside is that, I mean, I don't know.
No, he's obsessed with it. Like he can't move on, and he's like really old and lecherous now. Like,
yeah.
But and he hasn't made anything I think of worth in a shockingly long time.
Quite some time. Yeah.
But still have a soft spot for a bunch of his movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bully was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Bully the game, Bully the movie. Check them out.
Bully the activity.
Yeah, why not?
Go out and just you see a kid eating ice cream. The weather's getting nicer. Fucking shove it in his snot-nosed face.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you're a kid and you're at a public pool and you see another kid who looks like a easy target and he's standing by the water,
target him. Go
up to him and point to your friend's mom who took you to the pool in the first place and ask, "Is that your mom?" And then whoever I'm talking about would say, "Well, no, that's my friend's mom," and they pushed me in the pool, and then they got in trouble. From the lifeguard, and they had to sit at the pool and watch me and my friend swim and enjoy ourselves. And I felt really good about that. Anyway, that's just a hypothetical bullying story. It's not something that happened to me that I still remember.
Corporal punishment.
Yeah. I would kill those kids if I ever saw them. Push me into the fucking pool.
Push me into the pool, will ya?
You push me into the pool?
You pushing me in the pool.
Yeah. I was just in the pool. Now I take it, now I come out. Now you push me back in. What is
I'm wet again.
Yeah. I got all dried up and now I'm wet again. This is going to be a fun month.
I know I've been doing, ratings based on things relevant to the film, arbitrary things relevant to the film. I regret not using this one earlier, so I'm reviving it even though it's completely unrelated. How many gigantic Boban Marjanovic thumbs up do you give this movie?
Is he in this movie?
No, he's not. He was in John Wick 3.
I know, yeah.
3, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So his one thumb up from Boban Marjanovic is like
5
several
thumbs.
thumbs up.
Yeah, so out of 10. Yeah.
Big
no,
boy.
I don't know. I think this is a movie I think I could appreciate maybe more watching it a second time, or taking it as a whole, like as the first in a trilogy of similarly themed adaptations. So, this might be a bit of a low ball, but, I'm thinking like a 7.5 out of 10,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm in the same, and I think to me that equates to 1.5 Boban Marjanovic thumbs up.
Nice. That's still great.
Yeah, it is great. But I think like you're right. Like I think the overall effect of seeing these 3 movies, jumping to these different parts of the world and exploring the fact that everyone wants to fuck all the time. Everyone, everywhere fucking all the time. Now that's a movie.
Yeah, you want to see... Now that's something we should rush into production as a parody. People are going to love that. Maybe we can just, rate, review, and subscribe and follow us.
All that good stuff.
Email us.
Tell your friends.
Do all that stuff.
Get them to tell 2 antisocial film nerds in their life.
But maybe it's a good idea to end off with one of the other stories we didn't mention, which stars Pasolini himself.
Yes.
He's a pupil of the painter Giotto, and he's working on this fresco. And so some of the stories will have a start and stop, and then we'll move to the next story. And near the end, we're kind of cutting back and forth a little bit with this fresco story. It's not one self-contained thing. And I think, not just because Pasolini is cast as the kind of, head pupil, but also the actual, all the scaffolding and the look of this, that it is very much like a film set. Mm-hmm. And he is sort of commenting on the film that we're watching as we're getting to the end of it, right? And he has the last line of the film, which I liked quite a bit. So, and I think if we look closely, the fresco has scenes from the movie in it, right? I think there's some stuff like that.
And there's 2 panels that are drawn, and the 3rd panel next to them is left empty.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And he's looking up at it and marveling at it, and he says, "Why complete a work when it is so much better just to dream it?"
Buonanotte.
Buonanotte.
Tu m'hai promesso quattro mocca d'ora, poi mocca d'ora, poi mocca d'ora. Io so venuto se,